Welcome to the Widowed Mom Podcast, episode 327, From Alone to Connected, 3 Ways Widows Can Ease Loneliness in Public.
Welcome to the Widowed Mom Podcast, the only podcast that offers a proven process to help you work through your grief, to grow, evolve, and create a future you can truly look forward to. Here's your host, Master Certified Life Coach, grief expert, widow, and mom, Krista St-Germain.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Quick little update from my world before we jump in. I am moved in and mostly settled. There's art on the walls. The sewer work is done. The rug for my living room has been ordered. And unfortunately with that sewer work, I'm so glad it was caught during inspection. But wow, I had no idea how invasive sewer work could be to one's yard. So the flower beds, the sprinklers, the grass, lots of work will need to be done. But I have chosen to believe that this is my opportunity to make it what I want, because honestly, the grass looked good, but I didn't love what was going on in the flower beds and I didn't love the landscaping. So I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to make it what I want. And something that kind of inspired this episode, I discovered that my new neighborhood has a wine night once a month for the ladies in the neighborhood, which I love. And I remember there would have been a time where I would have gone to something like that and been surrounded by people, and I would have felt incredibly lonely, especially after Hugo first died. And so that's what I want to talk about today, is what it's like to feel lonely when you're surrounded by people, and 3 things that you can actually do about it. I'm going to give you 3, and then I'm actually going to give you a couple of bonus additional suggestions. But I'm guessing that if you're listening to this episode, you probably relate. You have been in a crowded place. Maybe you're at a party or an event or a concert or even the grocery store, and suddenly you actually felt more alone than maybe you do when you're home by yourself. There's literally people around you, and yet you feel alone. And everyone else maybe seems to be laughing, or you're seeing couples holding hands, or you're seeing, groups of couples, and people are catching up with friends and being social, and you feel like the outsider. It's a pretty common experience for most widows. And so that's why I want to talk about it. So let's get into 3 powerful things that you can do. And they are not complicated or difficult. They're actually quite simple. But 3 things that you can do so you can shift from feeling alone, lonely, to feeling more connected, even if you're a widow standing in a crowd of couples. Okay, here we go. Number 1, I want you to shift what you look for. Remember that your brain is always scanning the environment for evidence of what you are thinking. So the question is, what evidence are you looking for? What are you asking your brain to find? Because it will find what you ask. So if you walk into a room and you're thinking, I don't belong, your brain will show that to you. They're all married. That's all your brain will see. They all came in pairs. You won't even notice the people who came alone. Nobody's talking to me. Your brain will completely discount someone who comes up to you. Okay. So whatever we're looking for, we will find. If we are looking for, they don't know how painful this is for me, that's what we will perceive. That's what we will believe. That's what we will look for. So then that's a beautiful thing that we have a filtering system in our brain that does this for us. It's actually quite helpful in many ways, but sometimes it's really not helpful when what we're accidentally looking for is creating the opposite of what we want. So when we want connection and we're actually looking for something that creates loneliness, we don't get what we want. And so it's important to understand what we are looking for so that we can shift it. And then we can deliberately look for what we want to see, for things that create connection, for what we do have in common. And our brain will also prove us right on that. So maybe it's, they love music, I love music. Oh, she's ordering the same salad I usually get. They laughed at the same joke that made me smile. Right? They know the pain of being human too. They might not know your exact pain. They might not know the pain of spousal loss. But they also are humans, and all humans have pain. And they know pain. I guarantee it. They may not be showing it to you, but they do know it. right? So same crowd, different lens, different experience because we have shifted what we are looking for. So I want you to ask yourself, what am I looking for? Am I looking for separation or am I looking for connection? Because I'm going to find it, whatever it is that I look for. So that's way number one. Way number two, make tiny connections. I think sometimes we think that connection has to be deep or long-standing or involve long conversations that are very meaningful. And I don't think that's true. Sometimes the tiniest interactions are quite meaningful. And so, what if you look for the tiny ones? And that could just mean you smile at the barista. You say thank you to the cashier. You compliment someone's earrings. You make eye contact. You nod when someone holds the door, like little tiny moments. And the tiny moments remind your nervous system that you're not invisible, that you are part of the human family. You are safe, even if your person isn't next to you anymore. Remember, we're always scanning for safety. And so connecting with other people is a way to remind ourselves that we actually do belong. We are part of this group of people, even if our brain is telling us that we're not. The micro little tiny connections can remind us that we are. So that's way number two. Way number three, I want you to act your values. Most people don't think about acting their values. They might think about what they do value. But what I mean is, let's say you know that you value kindness. That's an important thing to you. It's an important value that you have. Well, how could you be the kindness that you value? How could you act that value when you are out? Maybe you could hold the door. Maybe you could, offer to help someone reach something they can't reach or give them advice on something that they seem to be looking for. Maybe growth is a value for you. And in that case, what if you signed up for a class, even if you had to go alone and you felt nervous about that, but you want growth as a value. So you act in accordance with that value. You act the value. If curiosity is a value, maybe you ask the person next to you a question about how they found out about the event or what else they like to do for fun, right? You get curious and you act into that curiosity. So when you show up as your values, not just thinking about your values or being aware of your values, but actually living them through action, you will create connection on purpose. You will create connection with yourself because you're acting in alignment with what you value and you're being who you want to be, right? That is important. And you also are creating the possibility of genuine connection with others because you're showing up as yourself. And you're allowing them to see who you are, right? When you live your values, you act your values, people get to see you. And then when they see you, they can connect with you. And that, I think, is what we want. And so when we act our values, we're kind of shifting the focus away from, do I belong? I'm worried I don't belong, to I'm being who I want to be, right? It becomes a shift from something that we are worried we can't control, right? Something outside of us, to I get to choose who I want to be and how I want to show up. And that by itself will have you feeling more confident and more connected, and things will start to feel easier. Okay? So shift what you're looking for, make tiny connections, act your values. And a couple of bonus ideas because I said I would. I want to suggest that you go out alone on purpose if you are not already doing it. Take yourself to a coffee shop. Take yourself to the cute little boutique that you always love, but you never go to. I just did this last week. Go to a class, go to a movie, go to a restaurant, do something. Even if it feels scary at first, every time you do it, you show your brain, I can do this. You give yourself a chance to practice the 3 things I just mentioned. Go out alone on purpose. Okay? And I also want you to think about connecting with yourself. Sometimes what can be really difficult in a moment where we're feeling lonely and there are people all around us is that we don't realize that we're not actually feeling connected to our own internal experience. And you might notice that you feel unsafe, like maybe you feel a little bit out of body, kind of like you're floating. something like that, I'm not really grounded in my body. And so a simple thing that you can do, put your hand on your heart. Maybe your stomach if you want, your belly, but at least on your heart. Slow breath in and out. Remind yourself, say it to yourself, I'm safe. I've got this. Or you're safe. You've got this. Or you're safe. I've got you. Okay. Any of these things where you're talking back to yourself, you're reminding yourself that you are safe, right? Your hand is on your heart. Tells your nervous system that even though it might be sensing danger, it reminds your nervous system that you really are safe. And then you reconnect with yourself. And because you do that, the world around you will feel less overwhelming. You will feel more present, more steady. And from that place where you are connected with yourself, it will be easier to connect with others. All right. And the last thing I want to offer is that you consider talking back to your brain. Because brains have lots of unhelpful stories. I don't belong. They don't understand. Nobody knows what this is like. It's never going to be the same. I'll never fit in again. Only couples belong here. All of those things, as true as they might feel, are just thoughts. They are just stories that our brain has made up. And so we can talk back. So when your brain says something unhelpful like that to you, you can say, oh, I see what you did there. That's just a thought. Actually, I choose to believe, and then fill in the blank. I'm human and I belong here. I have something in common with these people, right? You get to choose what it is that you want to say to your brain and talk back. So try those things. See if it helps. Next time you're in a crowd, next time you notice that you are starting to feel lonely, that everybody else seems like they're a couple but you, shift what you look for. Try to create connection in the tiny moments, and then think about how you can be your values. I promise you that loneliness does not mean that you don't belong. It just means that you've got some stories in your mind about what's happening. And it's a very human, common experience for widows. So we don't need to make ourselves wrong for it. We just need to notice it for what it is. And then we need to remind ourselves that we do have the power to create connection with ourselves, with other humans, and all the small ways count. Okay? If you're finding this podcast helpful, I would love it if you would subscribe. Better yet, rate, review the show. That is what teaches the Facebook algorithm gods, Facebook podcast algorithm gods. You know what I mean? That the show matters, and that's what puts it in front of other widows. And that's what I really, really hope to do with this show. So that's what I have for you this week. Remember, I love you. You've got this. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you like what you've been hearing on this podcast and want to create a future you can truly get excited about even after the loss of your spouse, I invite you to join my Mom Goes On coaching program. It's small group coaching just for widowed moms like you, where I'll help you figure out what's holding you back and give you the tools and support you need so you can move forward with confidence. Please don't settle for a new normal that's less than what you deserve. Go to coachingwithkrista.com and click Work With Me for details and next steps. I can't wait to meet you.